A single bite. That's all it takes for this food to inflame your brain and trigger a silent stroke while you sleep, something millions eat with coffee every morning. But after 60, your brain can't fight it off like it used to. And the scariest part? You won't feel the stroke. You'll just wake up foggy, confused, or maybe not at all. You need to know what this food is before it's too late. If you're over 60 and sometimes feel a little slower, a little foggier than you used to, it's not your fault. The brain ages quietly, and food plays a bigger role than we were ever told. This isn't about fear. It's about protecting what you've earned, your clarity, and your independence. It's the reason I started looking into what was really triggering these silent strokes in people who looked healthy on the outside. And what I found started right at the breakfast table. Just like the one on your front porch, where you read the paper, sip your coffee, and think you're doing everything right. Let me show you what that looks like in real life. Raymond was 67. A retired high school teacher. Sharp mind, great sense of humor. He still ran the trivia table at the church's Sunday potluck. Everyone loved how quick he was. Until one week, he just wasn't. He forgot the name of the town where he taught for 30 years. He called cornbread banana cake and laughed it off. But his daughter didn't. She said, "Dad, you've never messed up like that." He brushed it off, blamed sleep, stress, age. But the truth was quieter. A small stroke had already hit his brain, silent. The doctor later said it likely happened overnight, triggered by years of slow inflammation. And the worst part? One of the biggest triggers was something Raymond ate every morning, with coffee, without fail. He thought it was healthy. But for a brain already vulnerable, it was doing slow, invisible damage every single day. No symptoms. No warning. Just tiny sparks building up until something broke. Here's what you need to watch for starting tomorrow morning. Let's start with something that's in millions of kitchens: processed breakfast cereals. Even the ones labeled whole grain or heart healthy can be harmful if they're packed with sugar and refined carbs. Here's the problem. When you eat these cereals, your blood sugar spikes fast. The pancreas responds by flooding your body with insulin. But over time, this repeated spike and crash pattern creates insulin resistance. For aging brains, that's dangerous. Insulin resistance doesn't just affect blood sugar. It damages the inner walls of your blood vessels. That leads to chronic inflammation, narrowed arteries, and reduced blood flow to your brain. These changes are silent. You won't feel them, but they add up. Refined cereals also lack fiber, the natural buffer that slows sugar absorption. So every spoonful hits your system harder. And the additives, including artificial flavors and preservatives, contribute to oxidative stress, a key factor in neurodegeneration. For someone over 60, this is like feeding a small fire without realizing it. The inflammation builds. The vessel walls stiffen. The brain's circulation weakens. And that's how this habit can raise your silent stroke risk. So what does the science say about these harmless cereals and how they affect your brain over time? According to the National Institutes of Health and the American Heart Association, repeated spikes in blood glucose, especially from refined carbs, contribute to what scientists call endothelial dysfunction. That means your blood vessels get weaker, stiffer, and less responsive. In the brain, this reduces oxygen delivery, especially to the small vessels deep inside. Over time, this leads to white matter damage, brain shrinkage, and higher risk of silent cerebral infarcts, also known as mini-strokes. The Journal of Gerontology reports that people over 60 who consume high glycemic breakfasts regularly show faster cognitive decline and increased brain inflammation on MRI scans. Cereals full of sugar may taste light, but to an aging brain, they act more like a slow, invisible poison. So what do people usually pair with those sugary cereals? A tall glass of juice. It sounds like the healthy part of breakfast. But for the aging brain, it might be even worse. If you've been eating these cereals thinking they're safe, you're not alone. It's more common than people think. Have you felt more mentally foggy lately or noticed changes after breakfast? Let me know in the comments. And if this kind of information matters to you, hit like and subscribe. Because next, we're talking about something that feels even safer, but may be doing more silent damage than sugar-coated flakes ever could. Clinical studies published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that consuming high glycemic beverages, like orange juice, leads to increased markers of neuroinflammation and oxidative stress. Scans of older adults who consume fruit juice daily show higher rates of white matter lesions, which are strongly linked to memory decline, confusion, and early dementia. The Wexner Medical Center warns that drinking fruit juice without fiber allows glucose to hit the brain too fast, damaging tiny blood vessels over time. And the worst part? Many people think they're helping their immune system when they may actually be starving their brain of oxygen, clarity, and resilience. Juice may flood your brain with sugar. But what comes next is even worse. It's something people eat almost every day, especially on busy mornings. But for doctors, it's one of the clearest links to inflammation, memory loss, and yes, stroke. Silent or not. In fact, this next item might be the #1 most overlooked cause of brain damage after 60. And chances are, it's in your kitchen right now. This one seems harmless. Soft bread. A little fruit spread. Quick, comforting, familiar. But for your brain after 60, it's one of the most dangerous things you can put on a plate. White bread is made from refined flour, stripped of fiber and nutrients. It acts like sugar the moment it touches your tongue. Then comes the jelly, pure glucose in disguise. Together, they create a perfect storm. Your blood sugar doesn't just rise, it spikes violently. Your insulin floods in. And inside your brain, the tiny blood vessels tremble. Inflammation ignites. Circulation slows. Oxygen drops. Every bite is like turning off a GPS in your brain. Signals get lost. Cells misfire. And little by little, the map of who you are begins to fade. Doctors have seen it again and again. Older adults with mild confusion, memory slips, dizziness, all caused by microinfarcts they never felt. But the scans don't lie. And guess what they almost always ate? Toast with jelly. Every morning. And no, it doesn't take years. In vulnerable brains, damage builds week by week, until one morning, the map fails completely. And you don't know where you are, or who you are. That's what a silent stroke looks like. And this is what helps cause it. So, what happens when you take these out? When you stop feeding the fire, when you stop waking your brain with sugar and inflammation, the change doesn't just show up on a chart. It shows up in your eyes, your words, in the way you feel when you wake up. Give your brain a few weeks without the sugar spikes, without the invisible inflammation, and it starts to breathe again. The fog begins to lift. You wake up with energy, not confusion. You remember what you were going to say. You feel steadier behind the wheel, sharper in conversations. It's like someone opened a window in your head, and the light finally got in. Mornings feel different. Not rushed, not heavy. Just you, your porch, your coffee, and a brain that's starting to feel like yours again. It's not just about breakfast. It's about protecting what no one else can see, your thoughts, your memories, your sense of self. A silent stroke doesn't knock on the door. It creeps in while you're asleep. And by the time it shows, you may not even remember what you've lost. But here's the good news. You can change that. You can start with what's on your plate tomorrow morning. If this reminded you of someone, a parent, a neighbor, a friend at church who always brings the muffins, don't keep this to yourself. Share this before it's too late.